everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is a show I've been looking forward to doing for some time. Got a new turntable. Let's check it out and let me tell you the story about how I came upon this turntable. You're not going to want to miss this.
Welcome to Record-ology.
Behold, the Pioneer DJ PLX-500. So I bought this about a week ago, and it was part of my goal to recover my LP120X USB that I had sold off. I regretted that decision of selling that off, and I had a goal to buy another one or something very similar, because as we know, there's a singular company that makes all these things, Handpin Technologies. This one is almost 100% guaranteed made by Handpin. I am all but 100% certain of that. So I picked this thing up. Pioneer DJ is its own company. It is a subsidiary of Pioneer. No big surprise right there. But they were formed a few years ago, and they make a ton of digital turntable DJ equipment, and a couple of turntables actually play records as well. This is the lower end of the two. The PLX-500, that's this base model, sells for $369. I paid $300. This thing was, he said he had played 5 records with it and then got a really good deal on an SL1200 in blue. So that was the only reason why I was selling it off. So it was virtually brand spanking new. So I paid $300 cash for it. I feel that that's a good deal. Pioneer DJ also sells the PLX-1000. That's more in the neighborhood of $750-ish. That's the higher end one. They say that that competes with the SL1200s. It has a metal body, whereas this one has plastic. It's got a few kind of upgrades here and there that we'll talk about. But this unit is essentially on par with an LP120, or LP120X USB to be specific. And I thought we would take a look at it. First things first, let's look at this dust cover. It is gorgeous. It has a blue tint to it, a very light blue tint. You can only see the color in the cross sections. Polycarbonate as expected, but what's really cool is it's extra thick. It's not as thin as a normal one, and it's got this nice lip that goes all the way around the edges, which are nice, and little rubber stops, so it has a nice closure when you set it down on the plinth. And very, very nice, but it's got a peculiar thing about it, a couple peculiarities that I wanted to show you in regards to the lid. Okay, so usually when you lift up a turntable lid, there's like a stop right about there where the lid is almost in a vertical position, but not quite. And then you can keep extending it if you want to. This one does not have that. It's just completely loose at this point, and it doesn't stop until it gets to its fully extended position, which is way back there. It's sort of tilted back at an angle. And you may be saying, what on earth? So it does take a little bit of front to back room, more so than a regular LP120 would. It needs to be a little bit more room for that dust cover to kind of relax in that back position, if that makes any sense. And also, there's these little rubber clumps right here, and you may be saying, what on earth? Well, guess what? You can display your album artwork, your cover right there. That's actually kind of cool, I think. So it's a nice kind of built-in now playing stand for your records. I think that's cool. So like I said, it's similar. You may be saying, it's just a rebranded LP120. It's not. It's made by the same company, but you could tell that Pioneer's input in terms of the design has resulted in truly a different turntable. So basically the way it works is a company like Crosley or Audio-Technica or Pioneer DJ will go to a company like Handpin Turntables and say, you know what, we want a manual kind of direct drive DJ style turntable, and we want these features and those features, and this is sort of the design cues we would like to see on it. This is the fit and finish. These are what the buttons should be made out of. And then Handpin takes that information and adapts it to an existing style, which is why there are variances between these different brands. The Audio-Technica looks a little different than this. This looks a little different than the Crosley C200, etc., etc., etc. Now, like I just mentioned, it is direct drive, which is great. The PLX-1000, the upgraded version, has a much more powerful motor. And one of the things that people say in the reviews of this unit, it gets great reviews, but they say that the motor on this, the torque, even though it's considered a high torque direct drive motor, is not quite suitable for true DJ work. They feel that this makes a fantastic listening turntable, which is what I use it for, obviously. But if you really want to do DJ work, unless you're just kind of getting started, you probably want to upgrade to the higher end unit. But for listening, this is more than you would need. So we've got our on and off switch, rotates right there. We've got the start and stop button. All of the buttons, or most of the buttons I should say, are in a nice metal finish. There's like these little grooves, these concentric grooves in here. So that's a start and stop. It is 3 speeds. If you guys saw my little sneak peek picture earlier this week, I did kind of show a picture of this corner and have you guys guess what this was. So 33, 45, and then together 78. That was probably the number one feature that I really wanted to find. I needed to have 78 back in my life again as a nice turntable, not just a portable. And obviously we've got the strobe markings on the platter. It's only effective for 33 and 45. If you want a strobe 78, you need to put on a stroboscopic disc. No huge issue whatsoever. Let's move over to the right. This does have a cueing light, which is really good to see. On so many of these types of units, you'll see a knockout right there where this is supposed to be, but it's fairly rare that companies actually spec out the cueing light. So it's good to see that. This one is a nice kind of white LED. I'll show you this, hooked up. We'll give it a direct feed listen and all that stuff in a few minutes. But while I had good daylight, I just kind of wanted to give you the tour around the unit. Also of note, this unit is heavy. Like, we're talking really, really heavy. I think I read it's 22 pounds. And I think of 22 pounds, I don't think of it being as heavy as this thing feels. So I'm not 100% sure if that is the number. Feels like about 40 pounds to me. This thing is a beast. Apparently, even though it's got a plastic cabinet and a plastic plinth, it is packed with MDF and other materials. So it is not a hollow box like the C100 and C200 from Crosley. Because of that, there's almost no microphonic pickup if you tap on it. If it's playing and you tap on the side, there's nothing. And if you tap on the top, very, very, very little comes through. So the stabilization and the sound isolation of this thing is fantastic. Very, very impressed with that. We do have a pitch slider on here. I think this is a servo-controlled motor. It does not, from what I can tell, does not have the quartz lock. However, when you reach the neutral position, it does light up in the middle there to kind of show that you are at 0. And it's calibrated perfectly. So 33, 45, 78, the perfect speed verified by the strobe actually is 0, which is nice. Because I remember with some of my other units in the past, like to get to 0, you had to be down, plus or minus 2. And this one is calibrated perfectly. Now let's look at this cartridge. This one baffled me a little bit. Okay, the good news is we do have an actual removable head shell with a 1/2-inch SME mount on it, or bayonet mount. That's what this little screw-on adapter thing is, which is great. And let's see, is this metal or plastic? Can't tell. I think this actually might be metal head shell, which is good, but obviously you can use whatever head shell you want. This one is branded Pioneer DJ. And the cartridge, this mystifies me a little bit. Like I said, it's not a perfect turntable. There are a couple of things I would change. This is one of them. They went with the 36, clearly it's a 3600L Audio-Technica. It's branded, they call it the Pioneer cartridge, Pioneer DJ cartridge, but this is, there's just no branding on the front. As you can see, it's a 3600L with no branding on the front whatsoever. I'm just about, I'm not to say that I'm 100% on that, because they make other cartridges that have the exact same body and very similar stylus housing as the 3600, but I am nearly 100% positive that's what this thing is. The problem is, it's a fine cartridge, it's very entry level, but it's, you would think at this level, even the Audio-Technica LP120X has a higher end cartridge than this. So you would think that this would feature a higher end one as well, instead of this, $12 cartridge. My biggest concern with this cartridge is it's just not designed for DJ work. The 3600L is a listening cartridge. It is not a DJ cartridge. Even though the cantilever on these is carbon fiber, that's why it's black, which is good, more durable. It's still not reinforced for the forward and back cueing that you would need to do for true DJ work. So you may think of it as, well, it's a placeholder until you can put a DJ cartridge on there, such as the Ortofon DJ stylized series. Those are great. I'll try mine on here at some point. Or if you're just using it as a listening turntable, which I am, it's perfect. It's a great cartridge, and I've been listening to this one this week. Sounds fantastic. You can see we got gold contacts on the wires, and sounds great. I will definitely want to try some other cartridge styli combinations in the future, but this will definitely fit the bill for the time being. Okay, this is one of the improvements over the LP120 version, and that is that it has the vertical tracking adjustment back on. So if I loosen this and rotate this, it lifts or lowers the entire gimbal assembly on the back, which is a very good thing. The LP120 first gen turntables had that, but when they came out with the X series, they took this off and made this a static adjustment on the baseline LP120 series. You had to upgrade to the 1240s in order to get the VTA height adjustment back. So I'm glad to see that back on this unit. There is a caveat to that, in that even at the 0 position, which you can see it's at right now, this thing is too high. The tone arm should be parallel, should be completely parallel to the surface of the record, and I'll show you in a second it's not. The tone arm still angles down onto the record even with this in the 0 position, and that is not good. It's not a complete deal breaker, but if you want to have optimal settings on this, that becomes a bit of an issue. You could get around that with a taller cartridge than the 3600L, put on like a Grado or something like that. Then you could, use the height adjustment and raise the whole thing and get up to that horizontal position. That being said, it's got a great gimbal. This is metal. This is the same gimbal that you will find on the LP120s. The counterweight, yes, is on there backwards. It came that way, and I just keep forgetting to flip it around. So the plastic wheel with the numbers is on the back instead of the front. Either way, I did verify it is tracking a proper tracking force for this cartridge, so no huge deal whatsoever. A little bit of advice, I've learned this the hard way more than once. Make sure that you put the release off when you're making your adjustment back here. A couple of times I've been like, man, that's tight, and that's because this little safety was still on. So make sure you do that the right way. We've got a plastic clip here holding the tone arm on, and obviously a cueing lever as well. This cueing lever and cueing shelf design is good because there's a little divot right here. So even when the tone arm is lifted, when you put it into the home position, it defeats the lift and goes right down into the rest. So whether or not the cueing lever is up or down, it'll sit down in the rest perfectly. While we're back here, I might as well show you this. I've got another cartridge outfitted on this other head shell, ready to go. This is an Ortofon OM5E, and we've got a little place to store your extra cartridge here. Now it'll go in both positions too, forward or backwards. What is really cool, and my intention for this, is to have a head shell outfitted with a 78 compliant stylus and cartridge, because my plan is to play 78s on here as well. So I can have the micro groove cartridge on, and then when I want to swap it out to play 78s with a 78 styli and cartridge combo, I'll have that ready to go. And all I'll need to do is adjust the tracking force, because you can do the alignment within the removable head shell, and then when you go to put it back on, it'll retain that alignment. So that is all very, very good. Here's another look at that little lump of plastic in the dust cover while we're back here, and I'll show you how it just kind of holds the album in there. It keeps it from sliding out, and because the dust cover is tilted back, it just sits in there perfectly. Also, just like the original LP120s, this one has a metal 45 adapter, which is awesome. This is not mine. I mean, this isn't one that I added. It just, is the one that comes with it, which is fantastic. An aluminum 45 adapter, or your custom-made Record-ology 45 adapter would look good here as well. And we've got the little inset there, and I love showing this off, so you can push down and get leverage to lift it out. Simple, but effective. Good to see a turntable with a high-quality adapter right from the get-go. Okay, this is very heavy. If I lift it up, you can see the AC receptacle is right there, but you will see that there is no receptacle for an RCA cable. That is because this has a fixed RCA cable which is a gripe that a few people that have reviewed this have mentioned. The higher end unit, the PLX-1000, has removable cables. I mean, they're good cables. They're gold tipped, but if this cable fails and you don't really want to rewire it, then you're kind of stuck. Also, it's only about 1 meter long. It's pretty short cable. So a couple of gripes there, but for what it is, brand new turntable essentially, that cable's still in great shape. But eventually that could short out, that could fail. Now we do have a couple of adjustments or connections on the back. Let's look a little closer right here. It does have a built-in preamp, which I'm using. I'm in the mode of using built-in preamps right now. Sometimes I really enjoy external ones, but for now, I don't have an infinite amount of receptacles for power in my office. I'm already making very good use of power adapters and power strips, so I want to kind of consolidate where I can. One way to do that is using the built-in preamp, so I'm doing that. It's a good built-in preamp, sounds great, and will come completely out of the signal path when you switch it to phono mode and use an external one. It does have the USB connection as well, because being a USB turntable, you can use this unit to record your records, and I'm looking forward to possibly doing that with maybe some 78s digitally. So it does have a built-in analog to digital converter. It is a 16-bit 44.1K converter. So essentially that is CD quality digital conversions. You can make CD quality duplicates of your records, which is fantastic. Now, looking at the label on the right on the back, you'll see something that may mystify you a bit. Pioneer DJ, we talked about that, but Alpha Theta Corporation, what is that? Alpha Theta is actually the parent company now for Pioneer DJ. That is it's either a partnership with Pioneer, Big Pioneer, or it's a subsidiary of Big Pioneer. But they renamed things to Alpha Theta Corporation a couple of years ago, which is pretty interesting. Obviously made in China. Like I said, it is made by Handpin Turntables of China, and they do some great stuff. Handpin makes almost all of the Audio-Technica stuff, makes the higher end Crosleys, and obviously this and other units as well. Lenco devices are also made by these guys. So good quality products, and yeah, let's look underneath this unit. Now I got to be careful to hold this at an angle so the platter doesn't pop off. But we've got these textured grips under here, which is really nice when you're carrying it. It gives you something substantial to hold on to. Besides that, there's really no adjustments under here whatsoever. There are some screw holes to remove what I believe is that inset panel on the top. We've got these nice fat angled feet with rubberized discs in the middle. So again, very solid, very hefty unit. So it comes with this Pioneer DJ slip sheet, and it can function as a dust mat or a actual slip mat if you wanted to. It is a white kind of rigid felt type of material. And the reason why it's so rigid is for, that DJ work, if you want to use it like that, scratching and whatnot. I've replaced it with this beautiful Hudson Hi-Fi acrylic 2mm platter mat. I love the acrylic, so I just put this on top to show you what the original looked like. However, it didn't really save me a step because I'm going to take this off anyway. I want to show you the platter itself and what's underneath it. It's a direct drive, so obviously no belt or anything. This is a pretty tight fit. It has the same pointed spindle that the LP120s and the C200s have. So we've got, the similar molding that is used for belt drive models with the 2 holes and the opening here, but you don't really, this is where the belt and motor would be if it was a belt-driven turntable, but there's nothing there because this is direct drive. However, the opening does kind of line up here where you can make a voltage adjustment if you wanted to. Although even with the opening, you can't even see the whole label. Obviously, the sub platter has no belt on it, but yeah, that's the platter itself. Let's go ahead and remove it. So we're gonna go ahead and just lift straight up, and it comes right off. It is a cast aluminum platter. Good quality, hefty, good weight to it. And then under here, there's not a whole lot to see. They don't even have the inset plastic wells that a lot of other models do. It has a metal piece in here, a large metal piece with a lot of screws. The motor is going to be about as big as this raised area right there. Again, it is a powerful high torque motor, and yeah, it does a fantastic job. The spindle itself actually does rotate. It's not a static spindle. Not much else to see under here, but it's, if you've never seen before, it's kind of cool to have a peek under the hood. I always like to see how things work and what's under the hood. Now I want to show you what I was talking earlier about the VTA being too high on this unit. So I've configured it back to factory mode. So I've taken off my thick acrylic mat. I've put on this thin mat right there, and I'm putting on a record. I don't know what it is with Ernest Tubb today. I've just been listening to a lot of Ernest Tubb. So if I move this over and place it gently on the record, this should be the tone arm should be completely parallel with the record surface itself. And as you can see, it is not parallel. It is too high on the right-hand side, which would be the back. It's tilting down. And you may be saying, well, who cares? What's the problem? Let's go to the front of the cartridge. I'll show you why this is a bad thing. Because of that tone arm angled down the way it is, even with the VTA adjustment at 0, that means that this cartridge is tilted a tiny bit to the right, which means that the stylus is not completely neutral in the groove. You want that stylus completely up and down in the groove. So how do you fix that? The easiest way to fix that is to increase the thickness, or I should say raise the height of the platter surface itself. So we're going to take off this thin slip mat that it comes with and add this nice thick 2 mil thickness platter mat. And I'll show you the kind of how they compare to each other. If I hold them side by side, you can see that it's probably nearly twice the thickness having the acrylic. So putting on the acrylic mat just like this fixes the problem. All right, so that is the tour itself. Let me go ahead and put this back in my office, get it connected, show you all the pretty lights and everything, and we will give it a direct feed sound test. Okay, and here she is all installed and ready to go. I've really enjoyed this turntable over the last week. I plan on holding on to it indefinitely. I think it's fantastic. The build quality is crazy good. It's hefty. I'm just pleased with it all the way around. Okay, let's go ahead and turn it on. When you turn it on, the strobe light lights up and it is red. On the 1000, it is blue, so it kind of matches this. This is actually not as blue as it looks on camera. It's really kind of a white LED, kind of a cool white LED. Just comes across bluish on camera. If you had one of those lit mats that are kind of clear, translucent colored, that would look really cool because it would sort of inject that light across the platter mat. I think that would be very, very cool. Also, the speed that you have chosen lights up down there, as well as the green LED indicator back there. So I love the looks of this. Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I mean, there's not much else. Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention earlier is the feet are adjustable, each one individually. Okay, I've got the lights off now because I want to be able to focus on the strobe light itself. So I want to show you how quickly this comes up to speed. It's approximately a 1 second ramp up on speed. That's an artifact of the high torque direct drive motor. So here I'm going to click it and watch how fast this thing locks in. It does not take long at all. And speaking of locked in, you can see a very, very, very minuscule amount of cogging as those dots sort of undulate back and forth. So the PLX-500 has a plus or minus 8% on the pitch slider, and if you need more than that, the PLX-1000 has plus or minus 16%, so double that. Again, for casual listening, for just dialing in your speed accurately, this is pretty dang good. Also, the platter wobble is very, very minimal. You'll see some undulation there on the dots kind of going up and down. That is primarily due to the way that the dots are placed in the side of the platter more so than actual platter wobble itself. Now, if I go up to 45, watch how quick we get to 45. See what I mean? It is lightning quick changing speeds. And then when I shut it off, not quite as fast as the spin up, but that actually employs an electronic brake to stop the platter. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And if you're in a nightclub, having this handy little pop-up cueing light allows you to easily find the track. And the reason why the light is kind of low and comes across at an angle there is it highlights those track delineation marks and it makes it easy to cue up a song, which is awesome. It's cool. I use it even with the lights on. Completely unnecessary for my use, but just cool. I like all the lights that are possible. I want to have them on. So I think that's a very cool thing.
Have you ordered your official Record-ology 45 adapter yet? Check out the link in the video description below.
Okay, it is time for a direct feed sound test, so headphones on if you have them. Here we go. Hope you enjoy this.
Someday I could drown in it. Someday
Life in Japan, can we make it? Life in Japan. I do, yeah, I do, yeah. And I let go. They're like evacuations.
Okay, final thoughts. I love this thing. I absolutely love it. It is fantastic. Compared to the LP120X USB, I think it is better. It's very close. It's very close. It's quite a bit ahead of the C200. In fact, I think I said I sold off my C200 for this unit to make room for it, but it is very, very close to the LP120X USB. I think if you went with either of them, you would be happy. Not sure how crazy good the PLX-1000 model is, to justify that extra cost. But in this day and age, at this price point, with this feature set, I think this is a fair deal at $369. Certainly at $300, considering it's nearly new. So this will remain at my right-hand side. And then over to my left, so the Technics SLB5 changer is still what I would consider the crown jewel of all of my turntables. Not necessarily the most expensive, but it is just, I just love this thing. I'm not going to go in. It'll be a whole nother show if I just go into why I love this so much. But this remains to my left-hand side as I sit at my desk, sitting on top of my rack. And because of the fact that it is fully automatic, I don't have to, I can just start it and set it and go on about my business because it's fully automatic. So we've seen fully manual, fully automatic, and now my semi-automatic, which is the Technics SLBD22. And I love this turntable. It is fantastic. So no dust cover means it's a great candidate for an open spot in the rack. So I had a Crosley suitcase player, not a cruiser. It had a magnetic cartridge, pitch control, and all that on there. But I took that out to make room for this. So this kind of rounds out everything. I don't think that I need more than 3. I don't think I even need 3 or even 2, but it is nice to have. I love the design, the styling aesthetics of this. Beautiful turntable. And yes, I do listen to all of them. I was just listening to this one yesterday, as a matter of fact. So that rounds out the turntables that I use. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another one soon. We'll see you next time.